My name's Heather, and I am currently 7 weeks into having vestibular neurosis, or labyrinthitis. The main difference, by the way, if you're a bit confused like I was, is that labyrinthitis involves slight hearing loss and also tinnitus in the ear. I don't have that, which is why I think I have vestibular neurosis, but they're treated in exactly the same way and they're quite similar. So the reason I wanted to make this video to kind of talk about my story so far with vestibular neurosis or labyrinthitis is because during my acute stage, which was 2 weeks, and it's kind of continued since really, I felt really low, really low. I felt really hopeless. I was trying to do research online. I'd never heard of the condition ever, and to be honest with you, I didn't really believe the doctors when they said you have an inner ear virus. You know, I was like, this is a brain tumour. This is a brain tumour, and if it's not a brain tumour, then it's MS. And I couldn't quite believe that something as simple as having an inner ear infection can make you feel so out of whack. So I did research online, and I couldn't believe how little there was out there, and I was really struggling to find people's stories that I could relate to. So I promised myself that when I was well enough, I would record a video and put it online in the hope that some people that are in a similar situation can get some kind of reassurance. So my story, 7 weeks ago, in the school holidays, I'm a teacher. So I remember when it was the Tuesday the 13th of February, it was the day before Valentine's Day. My fiance and I went out for dinner with some friends in London. I don't drink, so I was totally sober. That's important to note because people confuse being drunk with having labyrinthitis. Anyway, during the meal, I started to feel really disorientated, a little bit like I had low blood sugar. I thought it was low blood sugar. I started to feel really disorientated, quite faint, quite lightheaded, a little bit dizzy, and a little bit nauseous. So I went outside, I got some fresh air, came back in, and people's voices were kind of, I wasn't really able to concentrate on people. I was talking, but it didn't feel like I was talking. I just felt really spaced out. So I thought it was low blood sugar. I went home, fell straight to sleep, and the next day I woke up and I genuinely couldn't move my head. I couldn't move my head from side to side like that. I couldn't sit up out of bed without feeling nauseous, without feeling just so spaced out, so groggy, really dizzy, really off balance, really nauseous. I was vomiting and just really out of whack. Headaches. My body was really achy, and I knew that something wasn't right. So as I said, I was convinced it was something worse. I called the doctor and they said it's labyrinthitis, and I said no, it's not. So I went to A&E, convinced it was something worse. And it was, again, a very bizarre experience being in A&E because you've got people sort of walking around and you just feel really spaced out. And they said, no, it's definitely not. They did all the blood tests and said it's labyrinthitis. So at that point, I then went back to my parents' house in Wiltshire. I didn't feel like I could look after myself properly in London. My fiance was working all day and I was in the house by myself, and I couldn't get up to go to the toilet really. It was that bad. I couldn't eat anything. I was really weak. So I went back to my mum's house in Wiltshire, and again, didn't kind of get out of bed really for another week, and I slowly started to eat again, and it was at that point that I went back into hospital because I was convinced that it was something more. I couldn't, my head could not fathom the little that my brain was working, which wasn't a lot because with labyrinthitis, your brain is getting so many different signals from your ears. They're getting the incorrect signals from your ears, and so it's trying to, it's confused and it's trying to get those and try and work out the difference between those and your eyes and your brain. So it's really natural to feel really confused when you have labyrinthitis, and my brain, it's called brain fog, but my brain wasn't working and I just felt a bit like a vegetable. So the little bit of brain power that I had was convinced it was more. So I was in and out of hospital for about 2 weeks. I had MRI scans, more blood tests, a really long long days in hospital. Anyway, they came out of it in the end and said, we are sure this is labyrinthitis or vestibular neurosis. We are sure. And with that, they sent me away. They sent me away with some antidepressants. I was feeling really, I still am feeling really, really low with the condition. Really helpless. I don't feel like there's much I can really do with it. I have days where I have energy and I can, you know, type a letter up on the computer, whereas today I don't really have much energy. So I've kind of done like really mundane things in the house, like curled my hair or put some lipstick on, or, you know, made some labels. I couldn't really do much today. Anyway, back to the story. So that was about 4 weeks ago, and I kind of would get up every day, and I was sleeping a lot. I was sleeping about 16 hours a day, and I kind of wake up and I was feeling really groggy. And just the worst thing for me was feeling spaced out. The dizziness got slightly better, although I do still have moments where I do feel very dizzy. But for me, the main thing is feeling really, really spaced out. And that really scares me. It's a really scary feeling. I've never done drugs, but I have friends that have, and they said, yeah, you know, it's definitely like being on drugs. You're so lucky. And I'm like, no, I'm not at all. Yeah, so I'm feeling really spaced out at the minute. So I left my mum's house in Wiltshire and went to my dad's, and who also lives in Wiltshire. And at that point, I decided that I needed to try and leave the house. I hadn't really left the house apart from to travel to my mum's or to travel to my dad's for about 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks. And I was starting to go a bit mad because of the illness, but mad because I wasn't leaving the house. Now, the one thing that I now know is that was probably the worst thing for me, because your brain needs to get used to seeing different movements. It's also really common to have anxiety. I've done another video about anxiety and labyrinthitis, but the anxiety for me, I didn't want to leave the house. My brain said, this is where you are safe. If you feel dizzy, you can stay at home and it's fine. But if you go outside around people that are moving like this, you're going to feel dizzy, and then you feel dizzy and you are going to mess up and you are going to make an embarrassment of yourself. So I didn't leave the house, and I was really scared about leaving the house in case I passed out. So I got a wheelchair. And my dad and my mum would push me around, and I couldn't go to busy places, so I couldn't go to like a town centre or a large Tesco, but I could go into a small shop, like I went into a small Tesco or a Lidl, or where else did I go? Like a B&M, love B&M. Just kind of little places that were quite quiet, like out of town places that you could go, and I could go in there for kind of 10 minutes and have a few people walk past me. That's really important, by the way, to get your brain used to that. And I didn't have to worry about passing out because I was in a wheelchair. 5 weeks had then passed, and I found out about vestibular rehabilitation therapy. Now, if you have labyrinthitis or vestibular neurosis and you've had it for longer than about 2 weeks, then you probably do need vestibular rehabilitation therapy. Basically, what VRT does is it tries to train your brain to re-correct the signals from your ears. So it involves doing different movements, and I'm going to do a separate video about the movements that I do. So I went to Bristol and saw a vestibular rehabilitation therapist, and she gave me the exercises to do. And since then I've come back to London and have been doing those exercises every day. So for me it's been 7 weeks now, and aside from those first 2 weeks, which was the acute stage, which most people have, I feel like I am slowly getting better. I do have bad days. I feel like today's a bad day. I can't really drive. I certainly can't go on the London Underground, so I'm kind of a bit housebound. I do try and get out, whether it be just into my garden or kind of just walking up and down the street a little bit. It's really, really important to try and get out, even if you feel really, really dizzy, because again, it's those movements, it's your body getting used to being normal again. I mean, I run like 10Ks. I'm a teacher. I'm a secondary school teacher, I don't have anxiety normally, and I'm normally a really happy person, and I go to the gym, and I have a really active social life. So this for me has been a massive shock to the system. My cardio has gone down. I mean, today I walked up and down my garden twice and I was absolutely exhausted because I haven't really done much for the last like 2 months. The anxiety has been really bad as well. It feels like someone's constantly sat on my chest. And I think the antidepressants are helping with that to a certain extent. It just kind of takes the edge off a little bit, which means that my body can focus on getting better with the physical things, and kind of the antidepressants are helping with the mental side. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment, really. I will do a separate video about the anxiety, and I'm going to do a separate video about the vestibular rehabilitation exercises. But if you are going through what I went through and what I am still going through, I just need to let you know that you are going to be okay. And it's really tough. And you will look online and there will be loads of people saying, you know, I had it for 5 days. I saw someone saying I had it for 5 days, and I was like, oh great, I'm gonna have it for 5 days. And then day 6 came and I was kind of, you know, twiddling my thumbs like, this shouldn't last that long. It's gonna last however long it's gonna last. And if it lasts long enough, then vestibular rehabilitation exercises are the way forward. And you just need to really just stay positive. Even those days when you just think, oh, I don't want to do anything. Like today, I've had no motivation, no energy. I've been exhausted and I felt really spaced out all day. You have to try and do something. I'm making this video. It's something. You have to do something. You have to concentrate on something. Even if it's just sitting and listening to some music, anything apart from watching TV, because TV does not help. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I will try and answer them. But yeah, just really please stay positive if you have this. It will get better and people are here to support you.